I'm Captain Gary Norton, and I'd like to welcome you here to Station 9 in Stockbridge, part of Henry County Fire and Rescue. I'm assigned to Truck 9. This is a Pierce Velocity aerial 100-foot truck. I would like to dedicate this video today to memory of Officer Paget, who just passed away with Henry County PD. We want to show you this truck today. So here's the cab of our aerial. This is where our aerial field apparatus operator drives the truck. He has a number of controls in here that allow him to operate the lights, to engage the power to the aerial device. So I'm sitting in the officer seat here in this in Truck 9 Pierce 100-foot aerial. This is where I ride when we go to a call. We have a number of things that assist us in being able to do our job and respond safely. We have a seat restraint system here that makes sure that we're all belted and properly in place. The cab's designed to protect us in the event of a rollover. We have headsets here that we actually wear while we're going to the call to protect our hearing and allow us to transmit communications over the radio. And I have controls to that radio here right beside me, as well as a computer system that allows us to see the dispatch information, respond digitally. Other things that we have here in the cab of the truck is I keep my portable radio up front with me so that I can be set up when we get to the call. We also have here mounted a thermal imaging camera, and that camera allows us to find hidden fires and find victims in fires. One of the things about being on a truck company is that we actually have a lot of jobs that are outside the normal range in firefighting. We're actually set up to do search and rescue in a structure fire. We basically would be the ones that would do search and rescue above the fire floor, outside the range maybe of the engine operations, which you've probably heard talked about on the previous video. So with a truck company or a heavy rescue company, we go in without a hand line to search and rescue, so we don't have the protection of water all the time. But we can use a device like this to help us locate a downed victim and kind of see what's ahead of us. So here again is the officer seat on Truck 9. One of the things I wanted to point out to you is our Tactron accountability tags. This is what we turn in when we arrive on a scene so that our incident commander can track who's on the truck. You'll notice that we have Captain Carter here riding with us. Captain Carter passed away about 7 years ago. He was a truck captain here at Station 9, and he died of cancer, so we always keep him on the Tactron board so that he rides with us. All right, so we're going to walk around and show you the rest of our Pierce 100-foot aerial we call Truck 9. We're on the passenger side of Truck 9 right now, and this is the pump area of Truck 9. Now there's a pump area on each side of the truck, so we'll see the actual controls to this pump as we move around. On this side we have access to 3 attack lights. The different colors signify different things. The blue always has a smooth bore tip on it. The red always has a combination nozzle on it. They're used for different things. And this is a 2.5-inch attack line, which allows us to flow a great deal more water. So we use it on a larger fire. You'll also notice on this side that we have this extension cord here. There's a built-in generator on this truck that powers this cord and allows us to power some of our electrical tools off a cord reel that feeds out from here. These devices that you see on the side of the pump panel allow us to take in water and also discharge water here. And we can actually, we have a 2,000 gallon per minute pump on this truck, and we're also able to feed a 2,000 gallon per minute tip that's up on our aerial. We'll get some video of that for you. As we move on by, you'll see that there's a large chrome area here. These are actually the outriggers. So in order to stabilize a truck that goes 100 foot in the air, we have 4 outriggers that are hydraulically actuated, and they actually slide out from the vehicle and sit down on pads that we put down. We have a number of compartments along this side of the truck. You'll notice here we have electrical lights, and these lights are designed with a special plug that can be operated from our extension reel here. There's also a multi-port electrical box in here that allows us to plug in a number of things at once. So that gives us the ability to light up the inside of a home or a house when we're working on some of our primary activities. One of the things that we do on the truck is after the fire is out. The truck's usually in charge of doing salvage and overhaul, and what that means is trying to salvage any possible possessions that we can that weren't damaged in the fire already. And we have a number of different tools around here that we use for that. I'll show you as we go. And the overhaul portion of it is making sure that we get the fire completely extinguished. Any hidden fires in a wall or something like that, we use that thermal imaging camera maybe to determine where it is. And then we're in charge of actually cutting those pieces out and exposing those pieces so they can be fully extinguished. So as we move along here, you'll see that we have a compartment here with a number of different tools in it. One thing we have here is extinguishers. We carry a couple different kinds of extinguishers on this truck. This is a water extinguisher. We have one on the other side as well. Many times whenever we're asked to go do search and rescue in a fire, we don't have a hose that we take in with us off the truck, and so we would just take a can. And we'll take that water can with us along with some hand tools to search for fire. This is what they call a porta-torch. And this device is used when we need to cut metal. It's just an oxygen acetylene rig. It's a little mini rig, doesn't have a lot of gas in it, but it allows us to make a couple of cuts. Sometimes you may be in a situation when you're doing mechanical extrication where someone's caught in a machine or something like that. You might need to cut it. There's some other uses as well. Down here you'll see that we have a really large electric fan, and this thing is designed to allow us to cause positive pressure inside a contained building, and that positive pressure that we introduce in there will allow us to expel any gases or smokes that are inside the building. They're going to go from a high pressure to a low pressure, so if we can raise the pressure inside the building, we can get those types of gases or smokes out using this device. And this one is electric. That's what we've kind of started going to now, and it will operate off of our core drill as well as any of the generators we have. This device is just what it looks like. It's a wet dry valve. So I mentioned that salvage is one of our primary functions on a truck. And so when you put out a fire, you tend to use water, and water can cause issues and problems inside the home after the fire. And so we can actually use a wet dry vac to help remove some of that water. And so this is our tool compartment on Truck 9, and you'll see that we have a variety of hand tools up here and some duplications. So just to kind of go down the list, I'm not pulling everything out. Up here we have a water key that allows us to cut water mains on and off, and also residential water services. We have up here a sheetrock hook, and this is something that we would use if we needed to pull sheetrock off of the ceiling so that we could expose it and find hidden fires. We have a set of bolt cutters here, and that allows us to get through the padlocks that we might encounter that would impede our ability to access a scene. And then one of our primary functions on a truck company is forcible entry. And so forcible entry can be achieved a couple ways. One of them is this set of irons here. And so this is a set of tools that we would ordinarily bring straight to the front door when we first arrive on the scene. And this is called a Halligan tool here. And this allows us to pry into a door jamb and up against a lock plate and allow us to force a door open. And to drive it into that lock plate, we have an axe. One thing about axes on our truck companies that people may not realize is they're heavier than the axes that we carry on our fire trucks, on our engines, and it's a couple pounds heavier. It's actually, this whole rig is actually quite heavy. You'll see that we have it duplicated here because people that are on truck companies, we call them truckies, and truckies tend to like to tear stuff up historically, and so we carry two sets of everything so we can tear lots of stuff up. That's not really true. Here we have pry bars, and pry bars can be used for a variety of different things, for prying obviously. They have a pointed chisel tip on the end of them. They have a lot of weight to them. You can drive them into narrow surfaces and get a purchase point to force something open. This is actually just a little multi-tool that a lot of times I'll grab. Another function that truck companies get assigned often is to take care of the utilities on a burning house, and I have the ability to cut gas and water and things like that off with this device. So So we also have a couple of sledgehammers up here. Sledgehammers are, again, for driving some of these types of tools into a small area. We do carry a couple of regular firefighter axes and pickhead axes. Truck companies traditionally are also tasked with doing roof ventilation, and sometimes we would use an axe like that to clear the shingles off of a roof so that we can make a clean cut. The last thing we have up here that's interesting is this is called a Rex tool, and this is a tool that we would use to drive over a lock plate on the front of a commercial application where you see the round deadbolts. This will actually pry that off, and then there's a couple of little small tools in here that allow us to turn the lock set and gain access to a commercial building. And the idea behind that is if we can go through a lock like that, we don't actually have to bust a window or break a glass door on a commercial building, which will be an expensive repair versus just replacing the lock set. All right, so here in our next compartment, we have a coil of extension cord. Even though we have a cord reel on this truck, sometimes that doesn't reach the distances that we need, and so we keep some spare rolls of extension cord in this compartment so that we can extend our electrical tools farther into a building. We cover a lot of large commercial structures here in Stockbridge, hotels, motels, and office complexes, as well as the hospital. And so the ability to achieve some distance with our electrical tools is an asset. Here we have some people call it a tri-mies. It has a couple of different names. This allows us to take our large supply hose, which will hook up down here at the bottom, and break it down into 3 smaller lines and allow us to get multiple lines in service. And tucked over here in the corner, it's kind of hard to see, this is our chainsaw chaps. This is something we would put on if we're using our chainsaw, maybe to cut a tree up out of a road or something along those lines, so that we don't injure ourselves with the blade of the chainsaw. While we're here, I'll open a couple of these compartments. You'll see that we carry spare self-contained breathing apparatus bottles, and there's quite a number of these on the truck. Here in this compartment, we have some of our power or gas-powered tools that we would use both for ventilation, for forcible entry, and also for cutting trees and obstructions out of the road. So we carry a couple of large gas-powered saws. If you've ever seen a masonry construction type saw, these are very similar devices. We have special blades on here. This particular blade is for cutting through wood and composite shingles. We actually would use this to cut a hole in the roof if we needed to. Sometimes that's necessary to ventilate a fire and to get combustible gases out of a building. In the back, we have another saw that has a special blade on it, and it's made for more for metal cutting. And then we have some extra blades that we have mounted back here in the back to give us some other options. These types of saws will cut through just about anything. So here we have the rear of Truck 9, and we have a number of different things to show you here. One thing is we do actually carry some hose on this truck. This is our large diameter hose with Stork's couplings, and this type of hose allows us to bring water into our aerial waterway, which we'll cover momentarily. This is the intake for that aerial waterway and allows us to take water from another pumper. Many of the things that we do in fighting fires, especially large commercial fires, require multiple pieces of apparatus that work together. And so our fire engine would actually pump to our aerial device here. We have a pump on this truck as well, as we discussed, but it enables us to operate a little bit more efficiently when someone else is providing the water for us. Back here also is where we carry our ladders. So this Truck 9 is a ladder truck. So we have to carry a variety of ladders for search and rescue purposes. And so what we do is we would actually take these ladders and put them up to someone's window and potentially try to pull them out of a burning building. Also, when we have firefighters that are operating in a multi-story building, we want them to have another way out of that building besides just the way they came in case they get cut off by a growing fire. And so we would actually take these ladders and put them up against the exterior windows, and then use our radios to let everyone know that there's a ladder on such and such window, so that they would know that they have an escape route that they can locate if they have a problem. So here we have some, these are wrenches, and these wrenches are designed to open and close the couplings on that large diameter hose. This type of wrench here is for the smaller hose, and these notches just catch the couplings and allow us to tighten and loosen them. Right adjacent to that, you'll see that we have a wrench here. It's called a hydrant wrench, and that actually allows us to cut a hydrant on or off. So we have another set of hand tools here. These are called New York hooks, and this one's a 6-footer. It's got a pry or chisel tip on one end, and then it has a hook on the other end. You can use this hook to pull sheetrock away or pull siding off the side of a house, that sort of thing. And we have them in different lengths from 6 foot all the way down to 12 foot. So sometimes in these commercial structures or older homes, the ceilings can be very, very high. And so you have to have some different lengths to accommodate those different heights. Here we have more ladders. We have more sheetrock hooks, which was a tool that I showed you earlier. Sorry, it's quite loud. We have some narrow ladders that allow us to get into sometimes you have small access points inside a structure that are very narrow, and this narrower ladder will allow you to get up into those. As well, we have a folding ladder that we can actually fold out that will allow us to get into some of those small spaces as well. And the last thing here on the rear of Truck 9 is our control module for the aerial itself. This handheld device allows us to set up our stabilizers, and once we get those set up and the truck reads that they have the correct ground plate pressure, it will allow us to divert the power on up to the aerial. We can't operate the aerial device until the outriggers have satisfied their parameters. So here, as we move around to the driver's side of Truck 9, we have some more tools that assist us on our mission. Another assignment that we have on truck companies here in Henry County is we do vehicle extrication. We have heavy rescues that have a better complement of tools to accomplish that, but there's only a couple of those in the county, so our trucks carry sets of extrication tools as well. So ours are battery powered, and this is kind of a little bit of an anomaly in the fire service. It's only been around about 10 or 15 years. And they're a little less powerful in some regards than the hydraulic tools that our heavy rescues carry, but they're extremely handy. And we can pick these tools up and take them a great distance from the truck, and we're not tied by hydraulic hoses to a power unit. So we're kind of proud of these tools. We've used them pretty extensively here in the Stockbridge area, doing vehicle extrications with great success. We have a battery charger under here so that we can recharge the batteries, and we keep charged batteries here all the time. There's 4 extra batteries and then the 2 that are on the units now. They actually will, you can pretty much do a complete extrication on one battery. So we have quite a bit of reserve power. We have a few other things in here. We have the ability to charge remotely. In addition to those chargers, this is hooked to an extension cord. If we're on a prolonged operation, we would be able to hook that into a cord reel or something to keep batteries topped off. This is a tool called a Glass Master, and this tool is actually designed with this little ratchet cutting head to stick into the windshield. You would chop a hole in the windshield of an automobile and then insert this in, and it works just like a can opener and allows us to actually kind of saw through the windshield of an automobile. Windshields are made out of a lamination of more than one layer of glass, and they don't shatter like some side windows and stuff do. So it takes a tool like this to get a windshield cut out properly. So we also have this tool, which does the same function. It just uses a saw blade to cut through it. But either of those tools will allow us to get through the windshield of an automobile. So this here is an electrically powered sawzall, and I think you probably saw when we were in the cab that we had a battery charger up there for this particular brand, and that's what that those batteries are for, is to give us some backup power for this. So when you're doing a vehicle extrication, sometimes you may have to actually cut through a post or wiring or things like that, and sometimes due to the access, this isn't always the best set of tools to do that with. This gives us an additional way to cut through if we have to take a roof off of an automobile, that sort of thing. So additionally here, we carry what we call cribbing, and you'll see this is called a step chop, and we actually would take this and force it up under the body of an automobile. We don't work on automobiles and cut on automobiles unless they're stabilized first. Often with the truck company, we respond with a heavy rescue on a serious vehicle extrication. And so what we work on until they arrive is often the stabilization of the vehicle. And by the time we get the vehicle stabilized, they're there with their powerful hydraulic motors. We carry a couple of extra wheel chocks on this vehicle. These are not for the rig. We have special wheel chocks for the rig. We actually use these to chock the tires on a vehicle when we're trying to stabilize it. Sometimes we want to keep it from rolling away from us. So in this compartment, we have some more of our salvage tools. Up here we have a number of tarps, and we have some of them specially rolled, and some of them are just new in the package. Those tarps are so that if we are in a burning building and either we've extinguished the fire or we've confined it, and we're flowing water, and we don't want that water to damage people's possessions, televisions, furniture, that sort of thing, we can push all those types of items to the center of the room, and we can get a tarp over the top of them so they don't sustain any water damage. So in this compartment, we have a few more tools that we use in our, mostly in our salvage and overhaul capacity up here. We have round point shovels and square shovels, and that allows us, sometimes we might need to put oil dry down if we have oil or something along those lines on the ground, and we can use shovels like that to scoop that up. We also, inside of a home, may end up with a lot of ash, embers, and things like that we need to get out of the residence so that there won't be a rekindle of the fire that we've already extinguished. And so we would use shovels like this or some of the other shovels that we have on the truck to scoop those things out and get them out of the house. All right, as we move further up towards the cab of the truck here on the driver's side, we reach this compartment. This is traditionally known as the engineer's compartment if this were a fire engine. On the truck, it has a variety of different purposes. So we have another water can here. There's a water can on each side of the truck for both occupants for when we go do those search and rescues without a hose line. We also have a complete toolbox here that has all kinds of different tools in it. You never know what you're going to have to take apart or put back together when you're in a emergency scene. We carry a few different hose appliances up here. That's a foam inductor that allows us to introduce foam into a line. These are just adapters and things that allow us to change the size of hoses and do a variety of different applications. And these are some spare nozzles if we do have to add hoses to our operation. In the compartment down below here, this is part of our stabilization gear. And these tools are called a Z-mag system. And we actually take those 4x4s that were in the previous compartment and use them in between these types of tools to grab a purchase between the ground and a vehicle. If you have an overturned vehicle, that's one way that you can stabilize that vehicle and keep it from turning over and hurting us while we're trying to extricate someone who's trapped. We also carry some collapsible cones for road safety. This is our hydrant bag. On most fire engines, this would be in the rear of the truck, but we don't have room in the rear of this vehicle to put it there. This is all the attachments that we would use to hook to a hydrant. There's a hydrant wrench in there as well as some coupling adapters, and that allows us to get water into a hose like this and bring it into our truck. We carry some more spare hoses in here just so that if we have to make a line longer, we have a little bit of hose to do that with. And here you'll see a device. This is a screw device. It's called a hose clamp. And the hose actually goes through this little vise down here on the bottom, and you can actually shut a hose off with this device. And the last thing we have in here is a hose roller. And when we use that large hose, it'll get water and air in it when we're trying to put it back on the truck. And we actually pinch it between this device and roll it out through the hose so that we can get the water and the air out of it. Here we have a utility rope. This allows us to hoist tools up in the air. Behind it we have what we call a bender lift system. It's a device that allows us to pick up people and move them around. Keep a little bit of seam tape on here if we have to port on off an area that we can't allow anybody into for their own safety, then we would use this tape. And also up on the top of this compartment is an electrical panel, and again, we have an onboard generator and electrical system on this truck, and we can control those electrical circuits from that board. Also here we have our main pump panel. This is the heart of the pump on truck 9. Again, the truck now has a 2,000 gallon per minute pumper with a 2,000 gallon per minute water weight up top. We only have 300 gallons of water. So if somebody wants to do the math on that, we would be out of water really quickly if we were flowing at full capacity. The reality of it is there's just enough water on here to fill the hose or fill the waterway. We have to have a water source to operate this truck in its aerial capacity. This large device here is our storage intake, or PID. This is a valve system that allows us to take the high pressure water that we get sometimes from hydrants and control that water as we introduce it into the pump. All of these different levers and knobs and so forth here control different functions of the pump. We can open and close. They're all labeled. We can open and close the different cross lanes, which are these up here, and the different discharges with these things. You notice there's an individual gauge for each one. Depending on the size of the hose and the type of nozzle on the end of it is according to what pressure we need to put on that line. And so we can evaluate what that pressure is at a glance here by operating this. Pumps nowadays have changed a lot since I came in the fire service when everything was manually operated. Now a lot of things are electronic, and one of the things that's electronic is actually the throttle for our pump system. This device right here allows us to monitor the engine RPM. We turn this knob to throttle up and down, and we can monitor what's going on, and we can give us what our oil pressure is and oil temperature and that sort of thing. There's also a way to cut your lights on and off out here on the exterior, and we can also read what our water level is at all times with these LED indicator lights. I want to thank everybody for joining us here at station number 9. We're at 922 Rock Quarry Road. If anybody ever wants to stop in, get a tour of the station or see the trucks, feel free to stop by. We also do free blood pressure checks. We appreciate your support.